Hey everybody, welcome again to another episode of the Dad Hat Entertainment News and Reviews podcast, where we'll discuss the world of modern entertainment media, television, video games, and movies. I am your host, Sean Fontaine, along with co-host Jessie Skillings.
Hello.
And Derek Lloyd.
I'm still trapped at home.
Shocking.
Still at home.
On an aside, kind of related to that, I was actually thinking that this has been the best weight loss regimen I've ever had. For about a year, I've been trying to reach my goal weight, and I usually float within 10 or 15 pounds of it, and I can never get below that. But once this started, and I stopped getting takeout food, fast food, any kind of food from anywhere except my kitchen, the weight's just dropped right off. Like, I'm within 2 pounds of my goal weight now.
I'm so jealous. All I do is snack. I'm like, oh, I'm bored. Time for chips.
Yeah, I'll second that. I'm definitely putting on weight. So kudos to you.
Yes, congratulations.
I had some leftover pizza about an hour ago. So yeah, I'm still ordering from the corner. So we have a pizza place up at the corner, West Hanover Pizzeria. Best pizza in Hanover, by the way.
Is that the one that used to be Monticello's?
It is, yeah. Yep. So I still order from them with some regularity. So yeah, I'm putting on weight and getting absolutely no exercise whatsoever.
You're not.
Congrats. Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
I mean, doing like push-ups?
No push-ups. Dungeons and Dragons doesn't really count for any kind of exercise at all. And I've been playing lots of online Dungeons and Dragons. So yeah, it's.
How many hours a week are you clocking in with Dungeons and Dragons?
Like playing, or actually, do you want me to include prepping for the different campaigns I'm running?
All together, like anything Dungeons and Dragons.
How many hours are we awake a day usually? If I'm getting, probably, it's gross. I honestly, like, let's just use today as an example and just times that by every single day that I've been in quarantine. So like, I got up this morning and I had a cup of coffee, and I sat down at the computer and I read my mail and all that sort of stuff. And then, that was maybe 15, 20 minutes. And then I opened up Roll20, which is the application I play like D&D through with other people. And I have basically been doing that up till now, only stopping to eat a couple of pieces of pizza and yell at my son to do his homework that he got digitally.
That's not fair. I heard you chatted with Kyle too.
I did chat with Kyle. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
He sent me a screenshot of something on his phone, and I was like, why is Derek on your phone? He's like, oh, you got to keep up with my gaming buddy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dan,
so that's
it. Cutting into his Roll20 time, though.
Yeah, do not do that.
That's right.
Well, that's me in Animal Crossing. That is how I have stayed amused through this entire quarantine. I have been on it a gross amount of hours.
How is that game?
It's okay. When I first started playing it, I hated it. I was like, this is the dumbest thing. Why do people like this? I can't believe I spent money on this. And now the guys are like, oh, Animal Crossing? Like every time they see me.
Is it on the phone?
It's on the Switch.
Switch, okay.
Yeah, so I can put it up on the big screen too, because the kids like to watch me play for some reason. Like, they'll be like, Mom, can I watch you play Animal Crossing? And I'm like, sure. So we put it up on the big screen and we watch me like make fun of villagers and like trap people in their houses. I'm kind of mean.
Nice.
For being the video game guy, like I'm completely like missing. I might not be missing out. I don't feel like I'm missing out, but I just don't gravitate towards those cutesy, weird games.
I think you have to try it for the next and then report on it for the next
I guess podcast. I do now that I opened up that can of worms, but
I mean, it's super hot, so you've got to do it, right?
Yeah, it's pretty popular, especially in quarantine.
How about I do Final Fantasy or something instead? At least, that's.
Oh, I don't know. I like this idea.
You play it with other people, right?
Animal Crossing?
Yeah.
You can, yeah. So my Steph, my husband's girlfriend there, she is playing too. So like we can visit each other's islands and stuff. You have to have like a code so that not just anybody can visit, and it's weird, but we visited and then like recorded us like on the screen just running around my island and being absolutely ridiculous.
Awesome.
So, well, it's interactive and fun. I don't know.
Sean, I'll do it if you do it.
Well, if I do it and you do it, then we're gonna have to all like do it together. Like Jessie's gonna be on her island and we can go like hang out on each other's island or something.
Yeah.
Just don't steal any of my flowers. I'll kill you. I'm just kidding.
But I wonder if it's crossplay though. Like you have it on Switch, but I'd have to play it on like the PS4, so or Xbox.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I mean, you just need a code. So as long as you can type in a code, I would think. But I don't know what other platforms it's on. So
I'll have to look into that for the next episode.
Yeah.
oh my god, I totally want you guys to play Animal Crossing with me now.
Nice.
Great, thanks for bringing that up, Jessie.
Yeah. Hey, it was Derek's idea, really.
That's
so
right.
Blame him.
All right, so for this episode, we got Jessie's going to be going into Unorthodox. What platform is that on?
It's on Netflix.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
I'll be doing not Animal Crossing. I'll be doing Resident Evil 2 Remake, and Derek's going to be covering The Way Back. So before we get into those, we have it was kind of a slow news week or two for me to try and find something to talk about. I did find something fairly interesting because of, the whole COVID situation in Hollywood being shut down. A lot of stuff isn't really kind of come out until 2021. So I did see an article here on screenrant.com about all the biggest sci-fi movie releases slated for 2021 release. Did you guys get a chance to look at that?
Yeah, I looked at the list today.
Yeah.
Anything stick out to you? Like anything that you're looking forward to, or?
I really want to see the new Jurassic World. I actually really enjoy those.
I can't say that anything leapt at me. No. I don't know. I think did I mention on a previous podcast that I thought this was going to be the worst year in film ever?
Yes.
That was before I knew that there was going to be a plague that consumed the earth. But I don't know. I just had a really bad feeling about where this was all going. And I can't say that there was a lot on the list that has me super psyched, but
The Matrix 4 looks like a really weird concept to me.
Yeah. I'm
not
actually kind of
necessarily
excited
interested, but yeah.
I've always been like a fan of the Matrix movies. Like that's just one of my guilty pleasure kind of series of movies.
Mm-hmm.
And
all three?
I some of them have their faults, obviously, but in general, I just kind of dig the story, like just the whole fact that, reality is just this program that we've been stuck in to become, AA batteries, it's kind of.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I love that. The story is great for sure. I just thought, that I'm not a fan of obviously the follow-up ones. I thought they got successively worse, but I can't remember if I mentioned this or not, but it was one of the greatest things ever. It was on the Matrix DVD collector's edition. I don't know if they did it on the Blu-ray version of it, but I thought it was pretty brave of the filmmakers to do this. They have, how you can have a director's commentary track on DVDs. Mm-hmm. Well, they decided not to do it themselves. They instead had two separate director's tracks that you can listen to, that each one has three people doing the track. So the first one is philosophers, like three philosophers who are talking about the different themes in the movie and all that sort of stuff, which was cool. And then they have a second one, which are three critics. And it was a very brave choice because the critics were not kind. Like as it went on, they loved the first one obviously, and they were raving about it, talking about all the innovations and both from an idea perspective and special effects. And then they just destroy the other two to the point where they're laughing in the third one. They're like their critics laughing at the film on the director's commentary track for the film, and they're like, I can't believe they abandoned the protagonist for a half an hour, to show us a shootout in this play, like the Zion battle, where you don't know anybody or care about anybody, but it's like, here's 40 minutes of giant mechs shooting at robots,
Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty bold choice of them.
And is the third them, the Wachowski?
No, there actually was no third. They didn't do it. It was two different tracks with three people on each one.
Oh, okay.
So
it's kind of brilliant at the same time as being weird.
I listened to them all, so I mean, I don't like the sequels, but I watched them both, each way with the philosophers and with the critics. So maybe it worked.
Oh, I'm curious if this is going to be their version of a reboot.
Yeah. So,
I mean, you could, because it's the Matrix, it's prime for a quote unquote reboot,
Yeah, for sure. You could build it right into the theme of the story, really.
Right. It could be completely different and just say they just rewrote the Matrix, you know?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, because they're saying they're keeping everything kind of covered up for the plot and stuff. So I suppose it could be
Yep.
anything.
In that sense, I think it's kind of a obvious choice for a reboot. I'm definitely with you, Jesse, on the Jurassic Park Dominion.
Oh, yeah.
Looking forward to that. There's a Mark Wahlberg movie here. Let's see, which one is that? It's called Infinite. And it looks like it's going to be one of those weird, twisty reality kind of movies. Kind of like The Matrix, but probably more like Inception from what I'm reading. Does Mark Wahlberg do anything for either of you?
I like him.
Yeah, I don't have anything against him. I think sometimes he works and sometimes he doesn't, and it's usually not a product. It's usually not his fault when it doesn't. You know.
Mm.
What was that terrible M. Night Shyamalan movie that is like a
The Happening?
Oh boy, that's hilarious. Yeah.
Oh, was that him?
That's him. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Why did I think that was Mark Ruffalo?
Yeah, that's some pretty bad writing going on in that movie. But
I actually was just talking about that movie the other day because we were out for a walk. John and I, we went for a 6.7-mile walk to Walmart and back.
Oh, nice. And the wind, blew, and you were like,
the wind blew, and I was like, "Have you ever seen that movie?" He's like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, describing the plot, and I'm like, "That's what's happening right now. Like, the world is just being taken over by plants, and we're all gonna,
yeah,
getting super meta."
I actually will retract. I am looking forward to see Tenet and Dune. I think both of those are movies I'm looking forward to.
Dune sounds really interesting from what I've been reading as far as articles that have come out. And I don't want to get too into the articles because, again, you can't really spoil Dune because it's set based on a series of books, obviously. But
right.
That is one movie that I don't think aged very well. And I don't think they could cover such an epic story in just one movie.
They're doing it in two.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you did know. Okay, I didn't hear you say that. That's okay.
Yeah. Like they tried to cover Dune in one movie the first time they made a movie.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Have you read it, Sean?
I haven't read it, no.
Did you, Jessie?
I haven't. I have a copy ready to be read because it's actually Kyle's, like, one of his favorites. So I just haven't gotten around to it yet, though.
Yeah, same here. It's been like on my must-read list forever. It's like ones that people ask me, "Have you read that?" Or they'll talk about it as if I've read it, and to my shame, I haven't yet. It's like
I really enjoyed the miniseries one, and then the Children of Dune.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't read it.
And I'm sure both of you probably don't look as favorably upon this coming out, but I'm actually looking really forward to Avatar 2.
I am too.
I was so into Avatar, like it just totally
really?
it was sort of like a reawakening of my imagination back when it first came out. And like I got all into it and stuff. Obviously, it's again Pocahontas in space, so nothing.
I'm excited to see it. I enjoyed the first one, and
I definitely will see it. I enjoyed the first one. I'll leave it at that. It didn't. There were a lot of people who felt like you did, Sean, and like really like changed their way that they felt about stuff. And yeah, I remember someone saying that it felt like to them seeing Raiders of the Lost Ark for the first time again. And I went into it with that in mind. So I was like,
you had it like really propped up in your
too many expectations.
And the thing is, I did like it. I'm not going to talk any crap about it at all. I enjoyed the movie, but it was not that. It wasn't that didn't change me in any way. Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it, and it kind of holds a special place in my heart because it's the first movie I ever took Noah to see, and he was like 6 months old, and everybody was like, "Oh my word, you're not going to be able to get a 6-month-old to sit through the movie," and he sat in his little car seat and like watched the whole thing, and it was so adorable. So
cool.
For me, I think it's more a little sentimental too.
But. Yeah, nice. It is strange that like it's been so many years since the first one, and now he's doing 5 sequels?
Yeah, like this the whole time they've been filming like nonstop.
It's so weird.
It's just a weird process, I guess. I mean, and I don't know where that mentality comes from as far it's not obviously traditional. Like usually you kind of like one off each one as you go, and that way if the next one bombs, you're not spending all this time and money wasting wasting all the time and money to make the next 4,
Right. Yeah, it's
But-
really, really a weird. I mean, I've been, I've learned my lesson not to doubt James Cameron too hard. Like every time he does something that becomes controversial, like I'm always like, that idiot's doing something stupid again. And then like it turns out to be an amazing movie or the highest grossing movie of all time or whatever. So
Right. I think
Right.
also economically speaking, he just that alone, like to get them booked for a shorter amount of time to just film everything from beginning to end, like it just is easier, I guess, to get their schedule booked ahead of time,
yeah.
And also it makes them, well, it's all CG, so it doesn't matter how they age, but
Right.
they're sort of like all fresh and in the moment for like that whole span of time.
Yeah. It makes sense for sure.
And geez, it gave the production crew that much work for the last couple of years,
Yeah. Yeah, it's nuts.
That'll be cool. I'm actually looking forward to that. Yeah, so I mean, we're all gonna have to wait till the end of this year to at least start seeing those come out.
Yeah.
But something to look forward to.
Yep.
Mhm.
Speaking of, before we get into our reviews, I want to thank our Patreon supporters again for donating what they can and supporting what we do here on the show. If you'd like to help us out, you can do so on patreon.com/dadhadnews and reviews. But if you can't help or support us monetarily, just giving us positive reviews and ratings on your favorite podcast platform of choice helps us just as much. Like on iTunes, you can give us star reviews, and shockingly, I would say we might be worth a 5-star review. So maybe throw that out there. That would be great. Also, if you'd like to have us promote your service or product, we have plenty of space here on the podcast. Just talk to us by emailing me or emailing us at deadhatnewsreviews@gmail.com. Plus, if you'd like some awesome merch, we have some t-shirts and hats that you can buy with our awesome logo, which actually Derek made, by the way, just to give you kudos.
Hey, thanks.
And you can get that at our Teespring merch store. I'll put the link to the store in the description below. Before we get into our first story, I also like to talk about our podcast hosting service, Buzzsprout.
Have you wanted to start your own podcast, but just weren't sure where or how to begin? Join over 100,000 podcasters like us, already using Buzzsprout to get their message out to the world. The team at Buzzsprout is passionate about helping you succeed. They supply all the tools you need to get you up and running and sharing your message to listeners on all the major podcast directories, like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. You could start with some gear that you already have, like a smartphone recorder and a quiet space. If you want to upgrade, Buzzsprout has tons of guides to help you find the right equipment at the right price. At Dad Hat, we did quite a bit of research before landing on Buzzsprout to use as our hosting service, and after using it for a while now, we've come to realize that it was the best choice by far. You'll get a great-looking podcast website, audio players that you can drop into other websites, detailed analytics to see how people are listening, tools to promote your episodes, tips and training videos, and more. Following the link in the show notes lets Buzzsprout know that we sent you, gets you a $20 Amazon gift card if you sign up for a paid plan, and helps support our show. Buzzsprout, the easiest way to start a podcast.
All right, Jessie, why don't you take the lead and talk about Unorthodox?
Okay. Well, it's one that I kind of picked randomly, which I'm ultimately glad I did, but I have to say it might be one of the last times I just pick something randomly because
Hold that thought. I just want to throw in really quick that on off air, I was saying that Derek and I should have the wheel of shows that we spin, and we will have a bunch of random streaming shows that whatever lands on, Jessie will have to review.
as long as it's not too terrifying,
All
like,
horror.
I'll do it.
All horror.
Come on.
Yeah. We'll have to design the wheel and show it on the Facebook page.
Just have the audience pick. A lot of audience interaction. Be like, all right, what should she review next and terrify herself with?
Yeah. All right. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Go ahead.
That's perfect. It is the first one that I picked randomly like that. So usually, my other reviews have been something I've been watching for a while, something that just came out with a new season that I was interested in anyway. But Sean actually messaged to see if we had our picks, and I was like, oh shoot, I don't. So I randomly opened Facebook or Netflix and was like, okay, well, this one looks good, and just picked it because of the artwork for the like title stuff. So
Hmm.
um might be the last time I do that without audience interaction or you guys picking something, because I definitely was thrown into more than I was expecting, but not necessarily in a bad way. I started watching, and I watch everything with subtitles on anyway. My house is loud. I have kids, I have pets, I have a bird who screams constantly. So I watch everything with subtitles. So I started it up and I thought, oh, I'll get some work done. I'll play some Animal Crossing. I'll watch Unorthodox, and I'll, do my homework for the podcast. So it starts up. I'm like, oh, they're speaking Yiddish. That's interesting. And then it just didn't stop. So the whole thing was subtitled. It was all in Yiddish or German, which is, I heard, kind of unique for like something that's filmed in the US and Germany. So I kind of got thrown into that. There's only 4 episodes. They're each only about an hour long. So I watched it all in one day. And it follows, just if you can get ready for some serious subtitle reading, it's a pretty good story. I learned a lot from it. It's just pretty interesting to kind of delve into the world of ultra-Orthodox Judaism. So it focuses on Esther Shapiro, and they call her Esty through the whole series, and kind of like her arranged marriage through the Hasidic community in Brooklyn, New York. So it's mostly like modern day times. I couldn't find exactly what year it was supposed to be, but the woman who wrote the book is alive today and like our age. So, I assume that the story takes place kind of modern day. And it starts off kind of throwing us right into her prepping documents and money and a small bag to obviously escape whatever situation she's in. And right off the bat, I was like confused, and I had to start Googling stuff. So I learned a lot watching this show. But she goes downstairs in her apartment building to like leave, and finds out that this, I don't know how else to explain it besides like contraption or like tool or something that they use to carry things on the Sabbath. So like bags and stuff. They're not allowed to carry purses. Or any kind of items on the Sabbath outside, wasn't working. So she couldn't take her bag with her. She had to go upstairs and unload her tiny purse and make all her possessions fit into like the waistband of her skirt.
Huh.
So you kind of get thrown like right into her story. And she actually runs from Brooklyn, New York to Berlin, Germany, which to me was so counterintuitive when you're watching a story about like someone who's Jewish escaping.
Yeah.
You don't often think, where I'll go? Germany.
Right. She's escaping her family.
She's escaping her husband and like her in-laws. Okay. She was raised by her grandparents and her aunt. We don't know much about her biological parents. We see her father. He's obviously heavily implied that he's a drunk and kind of just not a functional human being. So he kind of wanders in and out of a few scenes, and it's just implied that her mother kind of abandoned her, and we don't really know where or who she is. So yeah, it kind of starts off strong like that. It kind of throws you into it. And she's running from her husband and her in-laws. She escapes to Germany, and you're not really sure what's gone wrong. Like, you're not sure if she's being, you assume abused in some way for her to be running away, but they don't really make it clear right away. I don't think until like episode 2 or 3, you start to kind of get into her marriage and what's happened in it. But what I liked about it was the husband isn't like a bad person. Like, he's conflicted, and he's raised in this culture that teaches him that treating his wife the way he's treating her is perfectly fine and acceptable, and even to be, respected. But she just doesn't fit in. She's never fit in. She's always felt different. And so she wants to escape this culture. So the 4-part series kind of just follows her, picking up a new life in Berlin with some musicians that she finds, like classical musicians, that she's run into on the street in Berlin, and kind of the relationships that she strikes up with them. We learn some more about her mother and I don't want to like give away too much, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
but
You've already got me hooked. I definitely.
What time is this set in? Is it modern time or?
I'm pretty sure it's modern just because the book was set fairly modern. I think it was published in like 2012, I want to say. And the woman who it's based off of is, like I said, she's like our age, it looks like. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it's modern. It looks fairly modern. The styles are a little different, but I kind of just chalk that up to Germany and not America. So,
Mhm.
and the stuff you see in America is just the Hasidic community. So you don't really, they dress very differently. The women have to be covered. They have to cover their heads. They have to be covered ankle to, wrist. And so it was hard to pick up a time frame from their clothing. The clothing was even amazing, I have to say. It really kind of like enmeshes you. So I'm ultimately really glad I picked it. I ended up doing a bunch of Googling. I know way more about ultra Orthodox Judaism than I'll probably ever need to know. But it was worth a watch, and it's only 4 hours of your life. And hey, what else are we doing?
Right. Oh, that's
It must have been a pleasant surprise to be like, it seems so strange at the beginning, I bet, but then you just realize, oh wow, I learned a whole bunch of cool stuff that I would have never thought of looking into.
Yeah, I even started to pick up on the language a little. Like, I'm not saying I could now speak Yiddish, but like the words made so much sense because they're so German based, which is actually a fairly easy language to understand if you just listen to it. So it was kind of, I don't know, it was interesting. Like I started to kind of go away from the subtitles a little bit and I could understand some of what they were saying. So even that was really neat.
That's cool. And what service is this on?
This is on Netflix. I wouldn't recommend it for like younger kids. There is some brief nudity and there's some rather like intimate sexual discussions too, because the way women in that culture are raised is they don't know anything even about their own bodies until like it's time for them to get married. So they actually have a woman come over to speak to them about like sexual relations and teach them about their bodies and stuff like this when they're like 18, 19. So there's some like really intimate discussions in it that probably wouldn't be super kid appropriate.
Cool. Again, I don't have Netflix, so I won't be able to check it out for any time.
That's definitely going on my list for sure. That's cool.
I'll have to let you steal ours for a bit, Sean.
Yeah, I still have to get your code.
I'm actually a huge fan of the 4-part miniseries size. That's like, 4 to 6 episodes or something is like, it's so easy to digest it really,
Yeah, I love that too. Cause there's like a clear beginning and clear end and you can just kind of take it in, but it's not a movie, you know, I like that.
It's cool.
Yeah. Yep. I'm glad I watched it. So
nice. So we will have the wheel of shows built for the next episode so we can keep this randomness going.
Well, maybe I'll discover some more stuff.
Maybe Tiger King will be the next land.
Oh my God. I already watched it.
You did? Okay.
Every episode in like 2 days.
Yeah.
It's so bad. And I hate that polyamory is part of it too. It's so terrible.
Fucking Carol Baskin.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Aside from the title, I know nothing about Tiger King. Like I haven't even.
Oh, maybe I'll have to review Tiger King. I don't know. I might have to do that. Let me think about this.
I think you should.
Okay.
No randomness. We just picked it for you for the next episode. Cool. All right. So I'm going to jump in here. I took some time and I played one of the game series that I've really been a big fan of for several years. I played the Resident Evil 2 remake recently. It was released on January 2019. It's been developed by Capcom Studios. The original Resident Evil 2 was released back in January of 1998 for the original PlayStation. Then eventually it came out for Nintendo 64, Dreamcast, and GameCube. Resident Evil 2 Remake is currently available on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Microsoft Windows. I've been playing it on my PS4. As far as the story for the games goes, it's set in Raccoon City in September of 1998, 2 months after the events of the first Resident Evil game. Most of the citizens, actually to backtrack a little bit, in the original Resident Evil, there's this evil corporation called the Umbrella Corporation that has been doing bioweapon studies based around this virus called the T virus. Hey, another virus. So most of the citizens have been turned into zombies due to an outbreak of the viral weapon known as the T virus, manufactured by the Umbrella Corporation. And this picks up 2 months after the original game. It begins at a gas station outside of the city where rookie police officer Leon Kennedy meets college student Claire Redfield, who is looking for her brother, Chris Redfield, who is part of the Raccoon City Police Department. After being separated following a car accident, Leon and Claire agree to meet up at the city's police department in the middle of the city. The building is infested by zombies, though, and other monsters, including the Tyrant-class bioweapon, popularly referred to as Mr. X, who is dispatched to hunt down and kill any survivors of the outbreak. The creatures and various obstacles prevent Leon and Claire from actually reuniting as they are forced to find a way to escape the city. And that's the general overview of the game. When I started playing this back in 1998, I had already played Resident Evil, and I'll save my little anecdotal story about that for the end. But I've been a super huge fan of this series ever since the early 90s. So keep that in mind when I review this. So I'm probably looking at it through rose-colored lenses, but I am trying to be objective at the same time. When the game begins, you're given the choice to follow either Claire or Leon's story. Depending on which one you choose, you go through and play that character through their individual scenarios until they both meet up near the end of the story. For this review, I've been playing through Leon's story arc. Like the original game in 1998, you play the game in third person, traversing a pretty linear game experience. The majority of the game is set within the confines of a finite set of levels, so it's not open world. You play whether it's in the police station or police department building for Leon or the claustrophobic city streets of Raccoon City for Claire. The actual area of play is fairly small but diverse. That said, the game has been given a major facelift since 1998, obviously. The backgrounds are lovingly detailed and very atmospheric. Not only that, but the animations and the way you control the characters have been completely revamped for the current gen gaming consoles. In the original, you could move your characters or you could aim and shoot, but you couldn't do both at the same time. In the remake, though, you can walk, run, aim, shoot, all at the same time, just like most action RPGs now. Resident Evil was one of the first console games as well to incorporate a crafting system back in the day. This iteration of the game stays nostalgically similar to its origins in a really good way. People who remember mixing green, red, and blue herbs to create health boosts, or having found 2 sets of gunpowders that you can combine to create pistol or shotgun ammo, you're going to feel right at home in this game's crafting menu. As you might expect, with the game franchise, you will be fighting lots of zombies, along with other freaky creatures. The zombies in this game are the slow kind, just like the original. They do, however, possess the ability to lunge at you with surprising speed if you get too close. If you think you can put them down with a well-placed headshot, though, you'd be somewhat right, just like the original. However, I won't get into too deep of the details of defeating the regular zombies in the new game, but let's just say that you should work on your aim, or you're going to be going through a lot of ammo. As you explore the surroundings, you will uncover bits of lore in forms of notes, manuals, letters, computer files, etc. These are also very nostalgic holdovers from the original. They do a wonderful job of unraveling the events that led up to the catastrophe that has befallen Raccoon City and its unlucky inhabitants. One of the best and most nerve-wracking components of the game is the introduction of Mr. X. He is Umbrella Corporation's bioweapon / hitman that has been sent to kill any survivors of the T-virus outbreak. This boss character will be encountered several times during the game, starting at about a third of the way through the game. It's kind of a spoilery, but not really. There are ways to avoid him or slow him down, but not for very long. The scariest part about Mr. X is that he'll eventually be able to follow you. All right, I guess this is a little spoilery, but the game's been out since 1998, so get over it. He will eventually be able to follow you throughout the entire game map. In regular gameplay, if you travel through a door from one section of the map to the next, monsters won't be able to follow you. This isn't the case with Mr. X. You can run through pretty much half of the police station opening and closing doors behind you, and Mr. X will just come through each door after you.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah, tension is ramped up big time. So overall impressions, I've been playing through Leon's story, and I'm just about 75 to 80% done with his part of the gameplay. For reviewing the game, I set it on story mode, which is the easy mode, just because for time-saving purposes. I'll probably end up playing it again on the harder modes just to see how well I can do. I've been a longtime fan, like I said, of the Resident Evil franchise, so when I realized that the gameplay was basically the same with the current gen coat of paint, I was super thrilled. This game has hit the balance of pulling on the memory lane heartstrings while simultaneously providing a fresh new feeling game experience, and has done that balance perfectly. The great thing about it too is that you don't need to be a Resident Evil fan to jump into the game to enjoy it. Well, it is survival horror, so you might want to be familiar with that. Otherwise, you just might be scared shitless the whole time. I contemplated playing the Resident Evil remake first, but after playing Resident Evil 2 for a while now, I don't think that's even really necessary. Although I do have it in my game library, and I will play it eventually since I am that big of a fan of the franchise. It's got atmosphere, it's got jump scares, it's got cheesy overacting at times, which is pretty much part of the charm of the Resident Evil series. It's got zombie head exploding shotgun blasts, it's got weird, crazy mutated sewer monsters, it's got spies, cops, corporate spec ops, soldiers, everything I fell in love with back in the 90s and more. So, final thoughts on the game. Resident Evil 2 Remake is a definite home run for survival horror game enthusiasts and anyone else who just loves a good action adventure. Not only for them, but for anyone who wants to be immersed in a classic horror monster movie experience. It'll fit that to a T. Get it? T-virus to a T.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I did that.
Boom.
So I cannot recommend this game enough. Now that it's gone down in price as well, due to the release of Resident Evil 3 Remake at the beginning of this month on April 3rd, you should definitely grab it. So my little bit of trivia, when Resident Evil first came out, I actually didn't have enough money to buy a PlayStation, but I worked at Circuit City near the Hanover Mall. And you remember that place, right, Derek?
Oh, yeah.
And they had a PlayStation display in the small portable electronics section, which I was a salesperson. Me and my buddy Michael Dunphy used to work there. And when Resident Evil came out, we would take turns playing the game for hours, like while the other person would help the customers, and then we would switch off.
Nice.
So we actually both played the entire game and finished it in the store.
Nice.
Like, playing
That's
it
nice.
on.
Getting paid to do so.
Yeah, basically. Exactly.
You were selling the game. You were selling the game. You were showing
Yeah, when
how
people
cool-
would walk up, I'd be like, "Hey, check this out!" And
That's
we'd
right.
be like playing and stuff, and they'd be like,
There
"Oh
you
my
go.
god, that's so amazing!"
That's right.
Like, yeah, we have it over there to sell, and
You were just doing
Now-
your job.
yeah. And when they went to go buy it, we'd just, all right, resume,
Yeah.
start playing again.
And here you are. You're selling it again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Did you enjoy the films as well? Like, is that something
did.
part of it for you? Yeah.
I did. Resident Evil as a whole is another one of those guilty pleasures for me. I mean, it's not going to win any Oscars by any stretch of the imagination, but I
Mhm.
love watching the Resident Evil movies just as like a popcorn fun flick, all
Yeah,
of them,
sure.
all of them. And, it's just got that 90s flair, that over the topness that the 90s were like famous for. It's just soaked in that as far as the movies are concerned. What did you think of the Resident Evil movies, Derek? Did you see?
So I was just gonna say, like Resident Evil in general, game and films, it's just one of those things that I missed. I don't even know the reasons why. It's not that it's out of genre or anything like that. It's just every once in a while it's just something that you don't catch the wave on for whatever reason, and that's one of them. Doesn't make a lot of sense because it's been around for so long that you figure I would have caught one wave. But the only thing that I ever played related to Resident Evil at all was one of the sequel games. I want to say was 3. Is that the one where it's like it begins in like a? Have you played them all?
Yeah, was it Code Veronica?
I don't
Did they
recall
have
that.
the
So it was like an African village or something like that.
Oh, that one was Resident Evil 5. That was
5.
horrible.
Okay.
Horrible. Yeah.
So that's it. That was my one experience with it.
You picked the worst one, dude.
Yeah. So like I said, there was this period of time where I didn't do a lot of video gaming, and it was right around the time that Resident Evil was on the rise. So I just missed that, and then I just never caught up with it. Never watched any of the films. Obviously the attraction for the films are if you were a fan of the game, I think, right? So
Yeah.
I watched them without having played the games, and I still enjoyed them.
Yep.
But I'm sure you enjoy it more when you like know the plot and all that.
Sure.
But I think you would, if you picked it up, if you wanted to pick it up, like I was saying, like you don't necessarily have to play the first Resident Evil to get into the whole lore and stuff. They kind of throw you enough of that in Resident Evil 2 remake.
Yep.
I think Resident Evil 2 remake would be a nice stepping into the world if you really want to check it out.
Yeah, I definitely might give that a shot.
There's nothing as satisfying as like shotgun shells to the zombies' heads. It's just nice gory splatter.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's a mature rated M for mature, so for little kids, you might want to be wary about the excessive gore and violence, but you take it with a grain of salt with that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
So, yep, that's where I escape from my virus pandemic. Is I go into another virus pandemic.
Zombie virus. Yeah, that's right. I know a lot of people that wish that's what this was, or at least they say they wish that's what this was.
They die first.
They definitely would die.
Oh my God, so many people would be dying. Like, it'd just be like, no, you were not made out for this sort of thing.
You are not prepared.
So yeah, definitely give it 2 thumbs up.
Cool.
Nice.
So, all right, Derek, take it away.
All right. Well, I reviewed The Way Back, which is the new Ben Affleck movie. It's rated R. It comes in a nice, easy 1 hour and 48 minutes. It's directed by Gavin O'Connor, who name is not quite a household name yet, but he directed The Accountant, which was sort of an okay movie, not great. He also directed Warrior, which is probably his best film, and Miracle was his other one. It was the Kurt Russell hockey movie there. So,
I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, they're all like sort of like okay movies.
Sure.
Written by Brad Inglesby, who I did not know anything that he had done or had not seen anything that he had written prior to. And as I said, it's starring Ben Affleck. I don't think I need to run through a list of movies that guy's been in. I think you all know him. Heard of him anyway. Then there's Janina Gavankar. I think I'm saying that right. She was in Blind Spotting, Wild Orchid. And if either of you played the game Battlefront 2, I know Battlefront 2 is like a competitive online shooter. It also has a story mode that you can go through. And she played the part of the main protagonist there, Eden Versio. Did you play that game?
I didn't play that.
Was it Star Wars Battlefront 2 or just
that's what I thought of.
Star Wars Battlefront 2, yes, sorry.
Oh, okay.
I played that.
Yeah.
Who was she playing?
I think it was the main character, and it was actually it was like a female lead. The protagonist was like a woman that was working undercover or was an ex.
Yeah.
Pretty sure I got that right.
She's the dark-haired,
yes,
like Spec Ops stormtrooper.
It's actually the character is modeled after not just the voice, but looks like the actress or something.
Yeah. Oh, she's in that.
Yep.
Huh.
So she plays Ben Affleck's ex-wife, which I'll get into. Then the third person is Al Madrigal. He's got lots of television stuff. But if you've seen any of the ads for the film, it's obviously themed after the sport basketball. But this is not a sports movie. Well, it is, but it's also a fairly depressing drama about loss and loneliness and a battered and empty spirit. Ben Affleck plays Jack Cunningham, who's a high school basketball legend that walked away from an opportunity for a free ticket to college and possibly even like a shot at the pros. You won't learn much about the reasons why he left all that behind until well past the midway point of the movie. But being in the state that he is at the beginning of the film, you can correctly assume that things have been pretty tough for him for a while. Jack is a semi-functioning alcoholic. He still has a day job at some sort of as a construction worker. He drinks on the job. He drinks on the drive home. He drinks in the shower. He drinks at the bar that he spends every evening at. He drinks in the driveway before heading into the Thanksgiving dinner at his sister's house, where he will inevitably drink some more. Astute viewers will recognize that he's keeping himself in a constant state of inebriation, and the reasons why won't be clear until later in the film. These reasons will arrive unexpectedly and leave you realizing you're watching a different sort of movie than you thought you were coming to see. This definitely isn't Hoosiers Part 2. If anything, it's more like a lighter version of Affleck's younger brother Casey's film, Manchester by the Sea, which was a movie that just rolls a dump truck over you and leaves you to suffer in the wake of enormous tragedy. Have either of you seen that?
No.
I've been meaning to, but now I'm rethinking.
Yeah, would you really want to wreck your not just day, but I think it's a week wrecker.
Is it a good like crying movie, or like it just brutally wounds you?
Yes. Brutally wounds you. Brutally wounds you. Yes, is the answer.
Got it.
Yeah, that movie I was sort of messed up for days afterwards.
Oh wow.
But in this film, Jack Cunningham is provided with a reluctantly taken opportunity. His alma mater, a Catholic high school called Bishop Hayes, reaches out to him and asks him to come coach their failing basketball team. It seems their regular coach has suffered a heart attack and he needs to focus on rest and recovery. So, fighting against his own will, Jack ultimately chooses to take the job and begins the process of slowly getting the team and himself in shape. Clearly, the role as coach gives him purpose and drive, and we get to know some of the kids on the team. But there's one in particular, character named Brandon, that has certain qualities that seem to remind Jack of himself, especially the strained relationship that he detects between Brandon and his father. The film spends a good deal of time in its first half following Jack's efforts to right the ship of Bishop Hayes' basketball team. And this feels very much like sports movie territory for sure. And it does it well. We believe what we're seeing, and we understand and like the advice being doled out by Jack. In particular, I liked that there was like a team chaplain, so like a priest that's a part of the coaching of the staff. And he's constantly getting upset because Jack is throwing F-bombs at the team and, calling them pussies and all this stuff. So he keeps like trying to interject some restraint on Jack in those cases. And of course, he's completely failing constantly. So there's a little bit of humor there. And he definitely really cares about what's happening for the team, and obviously is connecting with the kids that he's coaching. And his assistant coach, Dan, is played by Al Madrigal, and the working relationship that develops between them is incredibly believable. Dan's like a really likable character, and he obviously really respects Jack's talent and basketball wisdom. All this material is handled with like a rousing spirit and an uplifting direction. You kind of come to those feelings that only sports movies can sometimes get you to. And I'm not even a sports guy, but even still, the big sports movies, they kind of just get you going, like they even install the Goliath team that we desperately want to see our underdogs knock down a few pegs, complete with a deliciously asshole-ish coach. That's the embodiment of every silver-haired, overly competitive asshole coach you've ever had the misfortune of encountering at various points in your life. I'm looking at you, Jim Sylvia. I really hate those guys. But it's what's happening outside all of this standard sports movie stuff that contains the core of what this movie is really it's trying to get at. Jack's ex-wife, played by Angela, who I was talking about before, is remarkably connected to Jack despite their divorce. And at first I found the relationship to be like a little on the unlikely side. Like I didn't believe it, but that's only because the movie was keeping a secret from its audience. Once you have all the pieces of the puzzle laid out before you, their strange relationship starts to make a lot more sense. It'll also uncover the ocean of sadness behind it all and helps us better understand the reason why, Jack's ship continues to founder and sink. In my own life,
she's a moonshiner.
Yeah. Well, that's not it. I'm going to tell you that. But so in my own life, I've witnessed, many people close to me be horribly impacted by alcoholism, and its depiction here is simplified, but definitely true. In real life, it's seldom one big reason that makes a person succumb to its afflictive qualities, but for the purposes of telling a dramatic story, I can accept that, you know, it's more, they always kind of boil it down to like, this person is like this because of this, you know. In real life, it's obviously more complicated than that, but, you know, we're dramatizing that. So, and just like in real life, you know, redemption can be searched for, but never fully achieved. And I'll leave you to watch the movie yourself and see how things turn out for Jack Cunningham. But really like the movie. I'm going to probably pop it in at 3.5 out of 5 stars. I feel like I've been saying that a lot for a lot of the films that I've been reviewing, but I really enjoyed it. I'm glad I watched it. I'd be happy to watch it again, preferably with somebody who hasn't experienced it before. I kind of get that, you know, I get to vicariously experience some of the feelings again through somebody else when they're experiencing it for the first time. And like I said, there's sort of like a cool, I don't want to call it a twist, but there's a revelation that comes at a certain point in the movie, and it makes you rethink a little bit of what you saw before it, and not in a cheesy way. It was really well done. So highly recommend it.
Seeing the reviews, I mean, not reviews, but just the basic premise of the story, I would have pegged you to rate it lower. Like, I was expecting it to be one of those movies that you wouldn't have been too keen on.
Yeah, it seemed a little sentimental and
sportsy.
I could be a sucker for that stuff. I mean, don't forget, like, you know, Moneyball was like my pick of the decade.
That's true.
You know, I spend less than 1 hour a year watching baseball, you know. There's something about the sports drama that it's just able to do something in a way that a lot of other movies can't do. I don't know exactly what the secret is, but even like not great sports movies
still have their moments that you're kind of feel a little bit of an uplift, you know? And again, go ahead. I was going to say, they seem to be good at like depicting how humans are able to dig into that well, that reserve of like what they need to get to overcome whatever it is, you know what I mean? That
yeah. You know, even that, you know, admirable trait, like I don't care if you win, just don't give up, you know, get out there and you know, the Rocky principle, right? It's like, you go one more round when you don't think you can. And those sort of movies it's a cheap shot, but it gets you every time. So, but yeah, this movie, like I said, it goes much, much beyond that. And I'm a sucker for sentimental movies. I've said it before in this podcast. I've said it elsewhere. Like, I just want movies to like make me feel something, which is why I think a lot of the I don't know, I'm trying to choose the adjective correctly here. I was going to say trash, but like a lot of the films that I feel like are just like pure popcorn garbage, I just don't feel anything. I don't actually get connected to anybody. I don't care if they win, lose, or die. You know, you know, everybody loved Pacific Rim. Everybody loved it, and I feel like every time it gets mentioned, I'm like the underdog here. But I didn't give a shit about any of the characters in those movies at all. Like nothing. I didn't feel.
I agree with you.
Any of them. And like people like, yeah, but I just get to see big monsters smash it. I'm like, all right, I get it, you know, but like that's not what I like, you know. So that's you know, that's where we're going to disagree. Wouldn't it have just strictly been better had you made me care about the people? Like, isn't that just better? You know. So, but
right.
Anyway, so yeah, so this movie did maybe care about him, and it was good.
How's Affleck in this? How is his acting?
He was awesome, and like you know, Affleck's somebody that I've crapped upon plenty. I'm not a huge fan of him in the public eye. You know, he's done and said things on a couple of like talk shows where I was like, you idiot, you know. But yeah, I mean, he's I think he's on it more often than off it, and I just totally believed him in this role completely. It was really, really good for him. You know, the accountant, I think maybe wasn't the best role for him, but I always felt like that would have been a cooler role for someone who was like really nerdy looking, you know, kind of like to be a badass, but sort of look like a dork would be kind of cool, you know? But instead he's sort of like this big beefy, he looks like a sports jock. So, you know, I mean, it's hard to escape that, you know?
How do you think his acting has gone in the course of his career, like in general, like his arc of?
I would say it's been an upward arc. I mean, like he seems like he's basically playing himself in Good Will Hunting, which I don't want to crap on that either, because that they say that sometimes is the hardest thing to be, is to just be yourself on camera. So I don't know if that's true or not, but I thought he was great in that movie. I mean, everybody loved that character, right? But yeah, he's had some misses, but yeah, I think for the most part he certainly hasn't gotten worse. Yeah, so I coping with the maturity of growing up out of that, like the kid that he played in Good Will Hunting, into something more adult. I think he's done a pretty good job at that. What was the name of the movie?
I think 2 of his greatest performances.
Gone Girl was really good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think his 2 best, and I mean, maybe again looking through rose-colored glasses because I like the director, but I think his roles in the 2 movies, well, he was in more than 2, but like him playing Holden McNeil in Chasing Amy.
Oh no.
I like that. I liked his performance there, and I liked him playing the father in Jersey Girl. Colin Crazy.
Amy, that's probably one of my favorites.
All right, here I go. You guys ready?
Oh boy.
Give it to me. Give it to me.
Top 10 worst scene of whatever decade it was in. Chasing Amy, in the car, that conversation that he has with what's the character's name in that movie?
With Banky?
The main girl in that.
Oh
my
god.
I always want to say Amy, but it's not Amy.
Right, but it's not. I can't remember her name. This is
Alyssa Jones.
Pause this 1 second.
Yeah, Alyssa. You're right.
Alyssa Jones.
That scene is pure shit. I challenge anyone to go back and watch Chasing Amy and just be objective and watch those 2 act and listen to the shit stinking dialogue storm that occurs in that car in the rain. That is some of the foulest, shittiest dialogue ever put to pen and spoken by an actor. And like it's not worse than Affleck in Armageddon, which is another great scene.
So you really enjoyed it then, clearly.
Yes, the animal cracker scene is like, I think, the worst written scene of all time.
All right, at least we agree on that. Right.
Yeah. But coming in at a close second or third is Ben Affleck once again in Chasing Amy. It's terrible. I remember like the first time I was watching that scene, and like, I was a Kevin Smith fan. I liked Clerks and Jay and Silent Bob and all that, but I think Chasing Amy came right before Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, right?
Yeah,
he had to redeem himself from that one. But oh man, I just remember like watching that scene, and like it is so long and so bad. I couldn't believe that it was still going. Just like I can't believe I'm still going on about it right now. I can't believe that scene was still going on.
I'm pretty sure I could recite like almost all of that like for a very long time.
Oh, yeah. Terrible stuff. That movie has not aged well.
When I watched it.
Sorry, guilty pleasure here, but I'll keep it to myself.
It's okay.
I grew up on that stuff. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, I did too. I remember, like Clerks was just that was a cultural phenomenon. That was more than a movie.
Yeah, I love Clerks.
That
I still love Clerks.
It also unjustly put like hope in my heart that I might be able to make a movie someday. I was like, if this dude could do it with
a lot
this.
of people.
Yeah.
It's like just charge your limit on your credit card, you can make a movie.
That's right. That's right.
And he lucked out where everyone else didn't. But
yeah. Oh yeah, we should just do an episode about Armageddon sometime. That'd be awesome.
The Armageddon episode.
Actually, no, screw that. Let's just do an entire episode on the animal cracker scene.
Deep dive of the animal cracker scene.
Do you think
anybody else in the world okay with this?
Do you think anybody else in the world is doing what we're doing right now? God, I hope so. Otherwise, what the hell are we fighting for? Like, kill me. Shoot me in the face with a shotgun. That's how bad it is. I want to be a zombie in Resident Evil that gets his head blown off.
Oh, boy.
Oh, great cinema right there. Oh, man. So, yeah. So Affleck did better than that. All right.
Yeah. So to answer your question, Affleck has he's improved. Yeah, he's matured, and he no longer finds himself in scenes that bad.
Oh boy, good stuff. All right. So on that note, I think we'll wrap this up for this episode. Any final thoughts? Aside from everyone's just thinking about the animal.
I'm just gonna go watch Chasing Amy and play more Animal Crossing. So
I think me too. I think I'm gonna go fire up my DVD of Chasing Amy and watch that scene and see just how bad it really was or wasn't. We'll
Double feature: Boondock Saints and Armageddon. Woo! Here we go.
Boondock Saints was an amazing piece of film.
Have
Fight me.
Have you seen Boondock Saints, Sean?
I've never seen that.
How could you not have ever seen that?
All right, so special episode. We'll watch. We'll kind of plug our faces. Maybe we'll do a YouTube video of the three of us, and we can pause it and comment on stuff as it goes.
Oh
yeah, we'll do like a director's commentary.
Yeah. I get a lot. I need to
Boondock Saints or
Boondock Saints. I want to do a service to the world here.
Yeah, that'd actually be cool. Like maybe we could do a Twitch stream of us doing like a watch party of that.
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
Yeah, I know that a lot of you out there listening are probably like, "What's he talking about?" Boondock Saints that was a good movie. I really like that movie. I just want to tell you that you're wrong.
You would be wrong.
Derek,
there it is.
You.
Yeah. It's one of the rare circumstances in the universe where opinions can actually be incorrect. So. I'm gonna step you through every step of the way. I'm gonna help you realize. Yeah,
you and I have had this discussion, and
Derek has been a whole
mostly for Jessie's benefit because we've had an off-screen discussion about movies. I had her list her top 10, and
well, that didn't make it into the top 10.
Right,
to be fair, but yes, we did.
One of them made it to the top 10 What was the one
that is in your bottom?
Love Actually.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
It's going to be Battle of the Network Stars, but you guys like battling back and forth. Point, counterpoint with Jessie and Derek.
I'm just teasing. People can like whatever they want.
Derek is going to homeschool us all on what is good cinema. That's coming up in our next episode.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, I want to thank everyone for listening again. If you could, we would love you to like, follow, and subscribe on our social media outlets. Also, please give us some great reviews. We would love to have our searchability up on the podcasting platforms by doing so. And other than that, I guess we will talk to you all next week. Well, not next week. A couple weeks. We'll talk to you soon. Same bad time, same bad channel.
God, I hope so. Otherwise, what the hell are we fighting?